'Cause my crew, we're jammed to abandoned buildings. Sees an empty cup, we fill 'em. I keep my circle tight, vibe just right with my six string singing all night. Gender, faith, color, or lover, don't matter one way or other. No complaints from music softer. Thanking God for that, but news dad is a doctor. My crew doesn't quit.
All right, welcome everyone to the Eve Growing Concept. Today is December 31st, 2019. So it's the new year tonight. Looking forward to 2020. A lot of good stuff happening here. We're here at my CBCB, the carbon-based composting pile. The temperature is consistent, over 140. And the outside temperature today is 25 degrees, so it's cold out here. Let's say 30 degrees, sorry about that. So freezing temperature. So this is the carbon-based composting bin we built this year. Okay, that last spring cleanup is the one over here. That pile completely died out. I tried activating it again. I can't get any heat out of it. So I think I'll have to do more than just fluff it up. I'll have to go back and say I may have to do what traditional composters have to do, is take it all apart and put it back together so some of that outside carbon gets into the middle. I'm going to do that with this pile as well. Even though I have very high temperatures right now, I can tell the last time I rejuvenated this pile was I think about a week ago, where I fluffed it up and I added more cat litter stuff on top of there and slurry, and that brought my temperature back up. And if you're following me on Facebook, you'll see some of the different progression that I've always set it back up again. So again, I'm just below 140, and I think that temperature is gonna, this week will drop. So basically, I want to look at it like I have maybe an outside animal that I have to keep warm. So I have to stoke the fire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this pile apart and then put it back together and see if my temperature can go another 2 months. Okay, that'll get us right into almost spring, right? If we can keep this heat consistent like that, over at 140. You know, the first 2 weeks I was up to 160. First 2 to 4 weeks I was up to 160, right in that range, before it started staying in the 140 range. And I've been tweaking with the 140 since. So I don't know if this is a record, folks, but when I look into piles, composting piles, traditional ones, their heat doesn't stay as long as mine is staying. That could be a record, keeping your heat that long. So if anybody knows about a hot composting bin where I really haven't done anything to it since I initially started it and activated it, I rejuvenated it a couple times in the course of 8 weeks, 2 months. It's just over 2 months. I started it October 28th, and today is the 31st. So we're over 2 months, and we're still at wicked high temperatures here, right around 140. But I'm going to take it all apart, put it all together, and see if I can get that heat up again. So by the time you get this video, it'll already be the new year. I did try to rejuvenate the heat in this pile, and it didn't work. That pile is completely dead. And I added nitrogen with no carbon, and I probably should have added a lot more carbon to that. But I think that pile is going to be taken apart as well. So let's take these apart. "14 minutes. 20 minutes. You know, they say when you're burning wood, you get warm 3 times. Once when you're gathering the wood, once when you're splitting the wood, and then when you actually burn the wood. Same with here. 20 minutes to activate this pile. Let's hope I get back up to 160 again for another 2 months. That's what I'd love to think would happen, because otherwise I could have just let it rest at 120 and let it go down and let it cool down, and then after the microbes did their work, then the worm types will come in, and all the bugs that are associated with worms will invade and make it into an awesome soil base, where I'll bring my castings that I'm making in the basement with all the real compost. Remember, this is the slurry that goes in here from making compost. So anyway, that was about 20 minutes to activate that. So if you had to do, let's say you had a pet out there, or you're a greenhouse, you had to warm up, you get one nice warm day in the winter where you can come, like today. It's kind of cold, but I'm wicked warm right now because of that, but because of just doing that. And as you can tell, with a carbon-based composting bin, there's no smell at all. And now I'm going to add some aeration to it. So get little holes in there, that'll remain. Let's see how far our pile dropped. Now, I'm not going to add anything to this pile to see if there's enough nitrogen carbon mixture already, see what that temperature does. I have a feeling I might have to add some more nitrogen in the form of liquid slurry throughout the pile. That I'll do on another day. Temperature from 140 is going up, so we still have an active pile here. Now maybe we don't. We'll see how long it takes. I'll check it by the end of the day, the temp. Now this pile over here, this guy right there, I tried getting this thing up again to rejuvenate it, and it just wasn't taking it. There's no temperature at all. It's dropping. This I tried to reactivate it. I think I probably rejuvenated maybe 3 times as the max before it dies out, but I haven't turned this pile. You know, remember I was saying it's all about fluffing it. And fluffing it's true when it's going through this thermal heating stage, right? Fluffing does help you so you don't have to turn it all the time. It gets you back up to those high temperatures. But now that this pile is totally dead, as you can see, there's a lot of carbon still around there. So I'm going to do the same thing I did to this pile to this pile. I'm at 25 minutes. I guess I don't want to empty it all the way because the worms are at the bottom, staying nice and warm. Let's see. All right, I got about 10% left to this battery. So I took it all apart. I flipped all the bottom part that's already broken down compost soil. I mixed that all around, found a few worms in there. I thought there'd be more, but I found a few active. So I didn't go all the way down, but I flipped all the bottom, and now I'm gonna put all this back on top, and we'll go from there. So I took the piles apart, both piles. The one that was dead is still dead, and we're gonna try to activate it there because you know we saw a lot of carbon in there. So I think if I just add a lot of nitrogen, maybe I can start that pile up again. If I can't do that, then I'm just going to let it sit, and that's the pile I'm going to use. I'll let the worms get in there by April, May. It'll be time I'll be able to use that as soil. Once it's dead, the worm and the worm community, all the different insects that are associated with red wigglers or worms in general, will invade that pile and start working their magic and turn it into an awesome soil. soil
Again,
base.
you're repeating
Because our
yourself,
castings
if you don't
are
believe
soil amendments. We'll be adding
it.
castings
You're
we've been doing
repeating
with all the
yourself,
compost.
if you
We'll
don't
put those
believe it.
castings along with these together, and we're going to do some amazing things 2020. I'm going to show you some great little designs I've been thinking about all winter. So this pile went up 10 degrees, 2 days. I didn't get to my 160 like I'd like, but I'm still in the red, and I'm 10 degrees higher than when I started. At least here, the top part, from like here and here. I look down to here, at the bottom here, and my temperature does drop. And I think there's a way I can handle that as well, but I'm not going to do that today. Today I'm going to just try to reactivate this pile and going down very slowly. So it's hot down below here. We've got an active pile right there, over 140. That's some great temperature, folks. And I also wanted to talk about somebody else who is doing similar work, Dr. Johnson, who I'll put some links below. He talks about a, let me sit on here. He talks about a Johnson Sue bioreactor, right? He talks, it's essentially a CBCB. It's a carbon-based composting bin. He puts a pallet down, he puts some cloth on top of that, and he puts some tubes in there that he takes out to let it aerate. And it's very similar to a carbon-based composting bin. In fact, he proves that you can't just add water, because what he does is every day he adds a little water. I believe he's in New Mexico, so he adds a little liquid to it. I don't think you need to do that. For myself, I just put a bucket of slurry. Interesting thing, he does add water, but his temperatures, I don't believe, and you people who are on the Johnson Sue bioreactor, yeah, the Johnson Sue bioreactor, if you're on that, please chime in if you see this video and you're trying to compare the two. I'm going to start talking more about the Johnson Sue. This guy, I've watched a lot of his lectures, and he does some amazing work. Soils. What he's trying to do, his ultimate goal, is he's trying to add more diversity to the soil. Through industrial farming, we've desecrated our soil. Let's get back to a CBCB, Mark. You always get off track, but there's so much I want to say to y'all. So the bottom part, I'm down to 130 at the bottom part, you can see. So I got 130 here and 150 up here, about 140. This pile is active. Okay, we're over 2 months, so over 8 weeks here. I started it October 28th, and today is January 3rd. This is exciting news. If you have an outside animal or something like that, we're going to work on trying to get that heat on the outside and the different thoughts about that. So today I'm going to show you how I added more. I took this pile apart, as the video shows, and I did add some nitrogen to here in the form of slurry. I'm going to show you how I did that with this pile, because I'm going to try to kickstart this pile again. It's already been, this pile already heated up like this one. I didn't keep as good, this is my fourth season working with a CBCB. So this is, this has been doing the same thing this one did, but it's finally petering out. Again, I started this in the spring cleanup, this pile here, which I'll do another spring cleanup, and this one will become, I don't know, this one over here, if you could see it. This is last year's. This was fall cleanup of last year. I used a lot of that soil already, as you can tell. It did drop too because of composting, but let's add some liquid nitrogen. Here's what I'm going to be adding today. All my house slurry from composting. Once again, all of our food, organics, all of our compost, and anything you can think of, folks. We feed it all to our red wigglers. They turn that into casting. This is the liquid that I drained from it when I don't want it too wet when I'm feeding it to my worms. We'll do another video on all that. And also I'm going to be adding, it's kind of my bucket of dog manure has unfrozen, so I'm going to be mixing that along with it too. That's going to be my nitrogen. I think that's the key with hot temperature. We got a record here as far as a small pile like this. I don't know if anybody's, I'm not talking about the big piles where they try to heat some kind of water thing, which I think if you a couple of these together, I think you could save a lot of plastic. You know how they put the pane method all around and try to heat it up? I think we could save a lot, even with the Johnson Sioux. There's a lot of parts I don't think you need. First of all, I don't think you need to put it on a pallet. Okay, he adds worms after after his pile goes down to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. He adds his worms to that. My pile, I won't have to. They'll come. I get so many worms around here. So I've got worms in this yard. Don't act like I don't. So let's try once more to activate this pile, because there is a lot of carbon we saw in there. So let's try once again. Let's try to reactivate this pile. How much? So we're going on 15 minutes of work on this particular pile. That temperature's dropping. We are down to, we're going down to 60 degrees fast. It's going to be very interesting.
Because you noticed when I took that pile apart that there was a lot of carbon still in there, a lot of leaves that weren't touched by the pile. So if what I did today doesn't activate the pile like I think it's going to be surprising for me. And it makes me think once these microbes die, they're like one team. It's not a bunch of microbes. They're working together as a unit. And when they die out, that's the end of it. But I've added a lot of microbes and all that slurry. So maybe they'll start feeding off that carbon again. And that pile will be activated. Ready to be another furnace again. Heat an outside animal, heat a hot tub, get two of them together, very easy to make. You know, I did add some gross stuff in there, but I'll tell you what, folks, a CBCB does not stink at all. There's no vermin that want to get in it because there's nothing really to eat. Nobody wants to eat wet leaves, right? Except the microbes. And I'm going to do again to this pile here that I have high temperatures at. I'm at 150 today. So again, that's over 8 weeks. I'm going to try to get to the bottom part. I'm going to add some nitrogen, since I have some left, to some of the pile. I do want to do some more videos on the Johnson Sioux bioreactor and how a CBCB is doing the same thing. And I think less work. That's what we're all about, guys, doing less work, right? Getting the same things done for less work. And it's about breaking down our organics. If each of us took full control of what we take in and what goes out, our ins and our outs, that's how we make a difference on this planet. We all need to be mindful. We need to be taught at an early age how to compost stuff. And we haven't even got into the whole humanure aspect and how even that can be done right in an apartment. If you can believe that, with no smell. And I can't wait till I get somebody to test some of my castings to see what's in them. Any scientist who lives in the Connecticut area, Yukon especially, contact me and we'll start testing my soil. Okay? You see how that's steaming? That is some steaming pile. Yow! Wicked hot right here, like so hot, people. Unbelievably hot right here. See, as I got hot temperatures from here, but I don't have too hot down here. Most people who are doing compost are saying, what are you talking about, Mark? That's hot. And nobody gets it that hot. Got a little mold growing here. All kinds of that white. So that's the deal with this white stuff. The mold does grow on here, like here, and then it gets burnt. It gets mixed in, burnt, and that's why it looks like ash, I think. You microbiologist type people, you tell me what kind of mold that is. That'd be great. It's white, and it just got there today. Okay, that is so hot. I'm going to add a little bit more. I should leave the pile alone, but I'm so excited about the heat. I just want to keep it going for all winter. That'd be crazy. But look at the steam coming out of that one. Because you didn't need the air tubes to do that. Johnson Sioux bioreactor crew. You don't need the tubes, because once your carbon is in there, packed down, you just make the holes with an awl, a huge awl. That's all I've been doing. So you can get rid of that step. You don't need to put it on a pallet either. And what else don't you need? You don't need to water it. You just add your liquid slurry from cow manure, horse manure. Mix it up in water and add it to it. Get it all wet so you don't have to dub around with it anymore. Every hole is hot. That's it, folks. I could ramble on all day. It is January 6th, 2020. My fall cleanup pile is still going strong with some amazing heats, but to my surprise, my spring 2019 cleanup pile did not get the heat. It never got reactivated. We'll talk more about that in other videos. Let's remember that a CBCB is open sourcing information. This is a brand new composting concept that I feel holds a lot of potential, and I look forward to others jumping on board and experimenting with this amazing composting concept. That's it. God bless. Happy New Year. Over and out.
My family and Papa found caregiving, always somewhere by the fire pit. If your friend and your family had free, If you're foe, then tonight disarm me. My crew has talent and loyalty, and they'll be partying over these royalties. You're damn right. Like my crew doesn't quit.